Regina, Mater misericordiae, vita dulcedo, estes nostra salve.
The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Jesus said to his disciples, "Be sure of this. If the master of the house had known the hour when the thief was coming, he would not have let his house be broken into. You also must be prepared, for an hour you do not expect. The Son of Man will come." Then Peter said, "Lord, is this parable meant for us or for everyone?" And the Lord replied, "Who then is the faithful and prudent steward, whom the master will put in charge of his servants, to distribute the food allowance at the proper time? Blessed is that servant whom his master on his arrival finds doing so. Truly I say to you, he will put him in charge of all his property. But if that servant says to himself, 'My master is delayed in coming,' and begins to beat the men servants and the maid servants, to eat and drink and to get drunk, then that servant's master will come on an unexpected day, at an unknown hour, and will punish that servant severely and assign him a place with the unfaithful. The servant who knew his master's will, but did not make preparations nor act in accord with his will, shall be beaten severely. And the servant who was ignorant of his master's will, but acted in a way deserving of a severe beating, shall be beaten only lightly. Such will be required of the person entrusted with much, and still more will be demanded of the person entrusted with more." The Gospel of the Lord.
I have shared in the past that when I was little, I was very hyperactive little boy, and I was often in trouble in school, mostly because I couldn't sit still. In the second grade, my second grade teacher, Sister Jean Lucier, was just had a way of handling me, and she was one of these people that crossed into my life and had a big impact on me, to the point where somewhere in the middle of high school, I saw her again around the parish, and she took out a long list out of her purse with something handwritten on all of them, and she said, "These are the names of my students that I have had. You are on that list, and I have been praying for you. How are you doing, Morris?" Somehow she kept track of me, and I am convinced that she was a key in my vocation, especially because of the way she handled me in the second grade. She was the person who helped to bring up the gifts at my first Mass. You have heard, St. Paul says, you have heard of the stewardship of God's grace that was given to you for your benefit, given to me for your benefit. So St. Paul is talking about somehow he has had a gift from God that benefits other people, and he felt responsible to use that gift. Indeed, each of us actually have that quality. There's something unique about each of us, and during our lives, we will intersect with people and potentially have the effect of either great blessing or potentially great damage in someone's life. And St. Paul is describing how, because of gifts of preaching that he has received from God, he felt an obligation to use these gifts from God as an act of love to benefit God's kingdom. And so Jesus says here in the gospel, "Who then is that faithful and prudent servant whom his master will put in charge of his servants to distribute the food allowance at the proper time?" That's you. With our gifts and with our talents, with the things that God gave us, we're responsible for using these to benefit others and in the process give glory to God. Blessed is that servant whom his master on his arrival finds doing so. Jesus is also implying here that there's going to be an accounting, an accountability to stand before him and be able to hopefully be proud. This is what you gave me, and this is what I did with it. These are the people I touched. This is according to God's eternal purpose, St. Paul reminds us. So in other words, we've all been uniquely created with very special gifts at a particular time, put into the world at a particular time in a particular place to intersect with different people and be a blessing in their lives. That's what it is. That's our responsibility. And so currently we can't see the entire eternal purpose. We can't really see that right now. But at judgment, it will be revealed. And so judgment we can think of as not necessarily a horrible time. If we've been good servants, judgment will be a revelation of a very blessed time, a blessed time that I've served on earth. Granted, we make mistakes on the way, but with the effort to continue to stay in God's will, prayer and living the sacramental life, we're going to work according to his plan, even without knowing it in some cases. Another pivotal moment in my life is when I was a freshman in high school. I went on a retreat. A teenage girl not far from my age gave a talk on this retreat that profoundly affected my life. I don't even remember who she was, but I remember what she said. I never forgot it. It touched me, especially as a teenager. And what she said was, she said, if you were the only person on earth, Jesus would have died for you. Just the same. I could never pull that out of my mind. And so we see today that we need to be attentive and alert. Each day, there's a divine appointment waiting for us, a time for us to be a prophetic instrument for God, either in our words or in our deeds. We will be able to have an encounter with someone who can be really blessed by our life. And no one can complete this mission. You can't really complete this mission unless we're connected with the Lord, who guides, precedes, and protects us, sends angels to whisper in our ears to move us along. And yet each one of us is vital to God's plan and to play his unique role. And so when he speaks of us as servants, he has a place for us to participate in his populating of heaven and bringing people to come to know and to love and serve him and be happy in this life and in the next.
Regina Celi, letare, alleluia, qui aquam meruisti portare, alleluia. resurrexit sicut dixit, Alleluia.